Good afternoon. Be the Solution. It's Maria Quattrone, the host of Be the Solution. And today I am excited and honored to bring my friend and colleague, Alan Nochumson, on from Nochumson PC. Alan's been an attorney in the Philadelphia metro market for the last 20 years. And we've worked together with lots of clients and both me representing him and him representing me on many different issues. So welcome, Alan. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Maria. Thank you so much. And you're right. We've known each other for a long time. It has to be. I've been practicing law for 20 years. I feel like we've known each other for at least 15 years, and we've done a lot of business back and forth over those years.
It's been 15 years.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It is nuts.
You look the same. I think I look similar, right? 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, I have a little less hair, but, you know, in some areas
Well,
and more than others.
I don't. I have still lots of hair.
There you go.
Crazy hair. So, Alan, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Okay, again, my name is Alan Nochumson of Nochumson PC. I have a law firm headquartered in Center City, Philadelphia. All I focus on personally is real estate law. So whether it's transactional or litigation and everything in between, we handle it for clients. We handle, the V2 properties of the world, but we handle represent the mom and pop organizations. So we handle the acquisition, sales, leasing, land use, governmental relations. So anything within the city of Philadelphia that's real estate related, we're comfortable with, or we know the right individuals to partner up with, including Maria, to make a project go and make people money.
And you also live here in Center City with your family?
I do. We live in the Fairmont section of Philadelphia. Maria actually found our house, got the house in a bidding war, right?
Yeah.
Was able to get it, for what we wanted to. If we've lived there, it'll be 12 years in August.
It's crazy how time flies. And you made a lot of improvements to your house too.
I did. Hopefully one day when the kids leave, which is not too far away, we'll be moving to Center City, Philadelphia.
Oh, so you'll leave Fairmount and move into what, Rittenhouse?
Yeah, something like that. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, that'll be happening sooner than later, right? They grow up so fast.
That's right. Matthew's a sophomore, or will be heading into his sophomore year of high school, and Isabella will be a senior this year in high school.
I remember when they were just little tiny kitties.
That's right.
So, Alan, I know that there's a lot going on in Philly right now. Unfortunately, we not hitting into the green phase. We have another 30 days to be in the yellow phase with some of the businesses. So that's kind of unfortunate.
It is. I mean, but we do have to be responsible too. It's the balance between long-term pain and short-term.
Yeah.
Pain. So
it's hard though, nonetheless, for everybody.
So, I'm sorry.
No. I saw this new law that's coming to effect for tenants and protecting them and their rents and their rights. And I wanted to talk to you today about that specifically, of what that means, what's going on with it, and how do people, both sides, protect themselves.
All right. So in early June, City Council passed the Emergency Housing Protection Act, which is a series of 5 laws, right? So, we saw that how the Supreme Court handled the eviction process in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And it's actually still in effect as of today. The Supreme Court has a moratorium on evictions, both from a commercial standpoint and eviction standpoint, through July 9th. Actually, July 10th would have been the first day in Philadelphia where we could have filed evictions. The city of Philadelphia looked at the situation and stated, well, you know what, maybe July 10th is not long enough for what's going on with regards to COVID-19. They passed, a series of bills which have effectively extended that period through August 31st. So there's going to be essentially a moratorium on evictions for all intents and purposes through August 31st. So let me just walk you through the bills so then you can understand, and then obviously, interrupt me if you have any questions, right? So these bills state that the emergency period started March 1st and the emergency period is extended through August 31st, right? And during this period of time, they're giving the ability of the tenants, both commercial and residential tenants, the ability to enter into a diversion program, be allowed to have payment plans, things like that. Now, it applies to all residential tenants in Philadelphia. It does not apply to all commercial tenants. It only applies to small businesses, and they define small businesses as 100 and less employees. So if you have a business, which is a lot of these mom and pops in town, which have 100 and less employees, this is something to be mindful of and think about as a potential to be able to stay in your space, from August 31st. And quite honestly, really, it's a diversion program. It's 9 months through May 31st of 2021. So it really has a significant ramifications. So this is the program in a nutshell, right? The tenant is allowed to enter into what's called a hardship repayment agreement, right? Where they can enter into an agreement to deal with past due rent, right, through August 31st, and then to pay certain amounts as long as they pay them in a timely fashion from August 31st through May 31st of 2021, right? So the first things first, as a landlord, you have to, before you could avail yourself of the court system, you're required to tell your tenants, whether it's residential or small business operator, that they have a right to enter into a hardship repayment agreement. And we'll go over the parameters of that agreement. So you have to give them notice that they have the right to enter into that agreement. You have to give them 30 days to actually avail themselves of that. So you have to give the notice. It has to be either hand delivery or certified mail, right, with a proof of mailing. Now, from my experience, it's really important. It's hard to get, no one wants to get certified mail, right? Anytime someone sees, get us a knock on the door and they see like a letter going certified, they don't open the door, right? When you see the mailman, it's probably not good news with certified mail, unless it's the Amazon Prime person or the UPS person where you're going to get something, that you ordered online. But for the most part, when you see the post office worker, it's never good news. So assuming you can't, get it be a hand delivery or you can't do certified mail, one of my recommendations in order to get these people notice and proof of notice, is, email, text messages. Like you have to have electronic proof that you mailed this out. It's just good practice points that I talk to all my clients whenever you want to make sure that they got something, especially in the landlord-tenant relationship in Philadelphia, right? So you have to give this notice of right to enter into a hardship repayment agreement, right? Now the city is supposed to create some forms to help the landlords out of what that notice entails, right? So they have a little bit in the bill of you have 30 days to avail yourself of this right to enter into a hardship repayment agreement. I believe that the city will hopefully give some more guidance. Obviously we'll be drafting forms up ourselves, with or without the city's guidance. Now, the other thing that you should be mindful of when you're sending this right to for a hardship repayment agreement, the other thing that you have to be mindful of is that there's a diversion program, right? So before you can file a complaint for eviction in Philadelphia, you have to give the other party the ability to try to make a deal, right? And the city's created this diversion program, right? So and you can't even file a complaint until you at least try to get into this diversion program, and you have to give the city 30 days to give you a date to have some type of mediation or conciliation conference, right?
So who's doing this? The landlord or the tenant?
The landlord is responsible before they can file an eviction complaint to show proof of that notice and to try to have the tenant appear in a conciliation conference, right? So, and that's a 30-day period from the
That sounds like a headache.
It is a big headache. So my recommendation is you give the tenant 30 days to enter into a repayment agreement, and you give the tenant 30 days or the city 30 days to schedule the conciliation conference or it has to be within that 30 days I would recommend doing both at the same time, right? So you send a notice to the tenant saying, hey, you owe us money, but hey, here's this program. And then concurrently, you go reach out to the city and state, hey, the tenant owes us money. We want to get a conciliation program. Best case scenario for the landlord, obviously, well, best case scenario is to get paid, right? In full. If they can't get paid, and best case scenario is if the tenant just ignores the notice to enter into an agreement within that 30 days, and then the city doesn't get you a conciliation conference within that 30 days, then you could go run to court, right? Now if they do have a conciliation, if you run to court after that 30-day period elapses and then they get you into a conciliation program, you have to participate in that conciliation program before you can actually try to evict the tenant. But why wait, right? So, do both of them at the same time. Wait the 30 days. Go file a complaint, right? Now, what if the person wants? Who can get the hardship payment agreement, right? So from residential tenants, they have to prove a couple of different things, right? They have to say the reason why they can take advantage of this program is there's a loss of income, right? So the loss of income, many different factors. Was a loss? You have to show that either loss of income was need to self-quarantine due to COVID-19, or they have symptoms that they thought they had COVID-19. They need to care for a family member or a member of their household who has COVID-19 or need to self-quarantine. You need to care for a family member or a member of the household as a result of a school closure or daycare, both adult and child care. So, during the school year, there were a lot of kids who had nowhere to go, right? So if you're a parent, and I'm lucky, my kids are teenagers, they don't have to be watched every second of the day. But there are a lot of people who couldn't go to work because they're kids of a smaller age and they had to watch them. And then for whatever reason, they couldn't remotely access because maybe they're not professionals. Maybe they're, they work in the restaurant industry, or they work in some other service industry where they need to be there. They have a loss of income because of that. They qualify as part of the hardship. Or they couldn't work due to the state or local directive, right? They were deemed a non-essential business. Or they lost their job, or there was a reduction of hours, or they have to financially support someone who is affected by all of this, and they don't have enough money for rent. So those all fall into the categories of a resident who is, who's eligible for this program. Now, small businesses, you're eligible for this program, again, state or local directive, you're deemed a non-essential business. If a key employee or a significant number of employees are affected by COVID-19 or needed to be self-quarantined, or if you have a loss of customers. So as you can see, the hardship requirement is pretty low because it's pretty vast, right? Now, this program doesn't apply if you're seeking to prevent an imminent threat of harm by the person you're trying to evict or the business you're trying to evict. So these really focus on monetary issues, right? So if, at least this is the argument I would make, is that you're evicting for non-monetary reasons, you can kind of skip over this program, right? And you can go straight to court. So again, when I am handling clients, right, landlords, because we do landlord work for commercial landlords and residential landlords, I focus on two things. I focus on what's the grounds for evictions, right? So there's monetary and there's non-monetary grounds, right? Monetary grounds, the thing with monetary grounds, this is a pay-to-stay state, right? So if the tenant pays before the locks are changed, they get to stay. So if I have a judgment for possession and a judgment for money, and they pay whatever's owed, they get to stay. So if it's a year that they owe rent and they pay every single cent, well, my landlord's client is SOL, right? Now, that's why I focus on non-monetary breaches, because you can't, once you breach for non-monetary reasons and it's material enough and the grounds for the judgment for possession is because of those non-monetary breaches.
What would that be like? For what? What's some examples?
All right. Well, for residential, a non-monetary breach, well, how about if I have a dog in the property, right? Which allows no pets. What if
Yep.
there's noise complaint, right? That reaches to a point where there's disturbances that are pretty aggressive. And or what if I allow someone else in the property where it says like you're the only one allowed in the property? Or what if you damage my property, right? Like, and you can show proof of that. Different things like that. Or there's, drug activity or other type of nuisances. That's the residential context. For the commercial context, we're actually dealing with this right now. I have a client who has a gym that's, in Philadelphia that's operating shockingly. And,
Where's that?
I can't tell you. I don't want to leave
Oh.
that out there, but I have a few clients who are, I represent commercial tenants, right? So I have a few gyms in town that I actually represent separate from this, and they're closed, right? They're doing the responsible thing. It's deemed a non-essential business. It's deemed a health hazard, but for whatever reason, this business keeps operating. We told them not to. So that would be a material breach of a lease, right? That's not.
I see. So the client is the landlord,
Yes.
not the leasee.
Yes, exactly. So that would be grounds where I wouldn't have to worry about this Emergency Housing Protection Act, even though they're deemed a small business, because their hardship has not their default has nothing to do with a financial hardship. Right?
So are they paying their rent?
They are paying the rent. They are paying the rent, but
So then
it's a health hazard.
But isn't that on them? I'm just asking. I don't know. I mean, isn't that on the business?
Well, commercial, like every lease, there's, you have to look at the terms. And in our lease, it states that, they can't breach the law, for instance, or violate the law. Here they are violating the law.
Right.
And, my client's a socially responsible person anyway, where their business is like, even this office space, they're not, I don't even believe they have their physical location open. They're working remotely. So again, we've tried so many months to flatten the curve, and again, that's another discussion. But we're having troubles as a nation and as a city and as a Commonwealth. That where the curve is going back up. So
yeah, I guess it is. But protesting was okay.
Again, I don't go into political decisions. I try.
I don't know. Is it political? I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
well, no,
if we are to be responsible, not everybody's being responsible.
That's right. And then we're all going to suffer. Like, as you experienced, you had a few months during the busiest, which should be your busiest time of the year. You had a few months where you couldn't even do business essentially. And we're back now where you can do business, and there's a pent up, demand. And I've heard that the market's doing great between the pent up demand and the interest rates. But God forbid we get to the point where it starts getting bad enough, where we may never get to green, or we may stay at yellow, or we may go down back to red. So obviously that's another topic. But
the market's not. It's segments of the market that are doing well. It's not the overall marketplace. Yeah. It's all not doing well. The higher end isn't really even selling.
Yeah, well, so it must be because of who I represent. I represent people who are, representing a lot of first-time home buyers. We're even doing some commercial leasing work for tenants. It's
Is it
crazy.
busy?
So for me, yes. For me, very busy.
No, for new leases.
For new leases, well, this one's in University City. Today, for instance, I had someone ask me about drafting up a sublease. I had a tenant approach me about drafting up a sublease for someone taking over his space. So it's busy for me in the sense of this. There are businesses that are looking to open, right? Maybe not as much as typical, but there's also businesses who are looking to change their circumstances, whether closing their places down or making their places smaller. So there's definitely a recalibration. So from a legal standpoint, as a lawyer, I'm busy because everyone's reanalyzing their personal and business lives.
Yeah.
So, but But
it definitely isn't good for the real estate market, though.
no,
In general.
but I mean, I have clients. I have one client who purchased a 20-unit apartment building in Port Richmond for like $2.5 million like last month. You know, their deals are still happening. So
that's not what I mean by that. If people can't pay their rents, commercial leases, or they're not paying their rents, residential, what does that do to the value of that building?
Oh no, I agree, but I represent a lot of property management companies, and I represent a lot of property investors who don't use management companies. And we had a call, like we had one of these sessions, like when COVID-19 first happened or affected us, right? And we talked about like what a residential landlord or commercial landlord should do in terms of preparing themselves if their tenants don't pay. We anticipated that the tenants wouldn't pay, right? So from the residential context, I talk to a lot of my clients. They're in a good spot. So like some of my clients tend to be a little bit more conservative in terms of who they let rent. They're looking at higher credit scores, income levels, things like that. So for the most part, it's no different than any other part of like their business cycle. This COVID-19 hasn't really affected them from a residential standpoint. Now, for a commercial standpoint, between COVID-19 and what happened last month, regarding, the protests / riots, there's definitely obviously been an effect. And that's going to be, felt for years to come. So yes, from a commercial standpoint, that there will be changes and transitions for a lot of businesses and landlords. So that will definitely be the case. And I think that's partly why City Council focused on not just residential tenants, but commercial tenants of a smaller ilk, right? You have people who have 100 or less employees. They're the backbone of business community and community in general. And they're struggling. We need to figure out how to make that work. Now, the problem with this bill, and not to get into politics too much, how are we protecting the landlords, right? Like if someone's not paying the landlord, well, that means we're helping the tenant out, right? But what's going on with the landlord? The landlord has to pay real estate taxes, for instance, right? Well, the city wants them to pay real estate taxes, but if they made it to the point where they're having difficulty collecting rent, or they're collecting a reduced amount of rent, right? Or they can't get possession of their space to rent to someone else, well, that's affecting the fair market value of the property. Well, should I pay taxes based on this fair market value when now my property's worth a lot, has been impacted, or the value of my property's been impacted? So, I mean, that's more of the political process where I think City Council needs to now focus on the landlords as well, right? Because as you know, most of our clients are not the big companies, right? Most of our clients are people, this is their living, right? They want to make money to like invest in real estate. And if you're choking their revenue stream, they're going to get screwed because they have to pay bank loans. These people aren't
No,
multi-million.
that's what I'm saying. If they can't pay their bank loan, commercial lending, they don't just say, oh, okay, well, don't get me next month, or get me. Eventually, commercial loans, they can call the note. I mean, it's
Well,
problematic, and we don't live in a vacuum, right, Alan? So if the value of the building, say for example, if I stop paying my rent, this value of this building goes down significantly, right? And then that does not affect all the other real estate around it.
I would agree with that. So yes, so it's definitely we need a more holistic view. It can't just be let's protect one segment of society to the detriment of another segment of society. Again, just because someone owns real estate doesn't mean that they're independently wealthy or a trust fund baby, so to speak.
No, because a lot of these real estate deals are syndicates. They're syndication. So there's many people involved in them. And, people were buying with very low cap rates. So there wasn't a lot of money left there. The return in some of these aren't that high. And then if you take away a portion of rent, they're now in the red. And it's a very concerning place to be right now. And I think has to be addressed.
It does have to be addressed. But again, but the point is like, so you have to understand our environment too. So we do have the Emergency Housing Protection Act. So you have to be smart about how you handle it, and you got to follow the law, right? So just because they qualify, they have a hardship, right? They qualify as a residential tenant, and they qualify as a small business tenant because they're less than 100 employees, and they qualify because of these things. They don't, they have to still make the deal, right? So what is the deal, right? So if you're dealing with past due rent prior to August 31st, they're going to have 9 months to make that payment. So 9 months is a long time. It could be as late as May 31st of 2021. So you have to make those payments of past due rent. And for the payments after August 31st of 2020, that are due on their lease, they have to make those payments in a timely fashion, right? So starting September 1st of 2020, if rent's $1,000, you got to pay the $1,000. So let's just make an example. They owe 3 months of rent, right? So it's $3,000, right? They have to pay that through August 31st. They have to pay those that $3,000 over 9 equal payments, of whatever, $300, another three, so like $330 or whatever. If I was a mathematician, I'd be an accountant, not an attorney. So, but I just did quickly in my head. It's around $330, right? And then on top of that, they have to pay the rent every single month after September 1st in a timely fashion, right? So maybe you're asking, okay, well, they pay the rent late, right? Can I get late fees and interest? Well, no, you can't. So you can't get late fees, you can't get interest, right? Say they default. Now the act doesn't really talk about this, but if they default under this agreement, I would assume that, and again, I looked at the statute. It's not well written, but I would assume once they're in default, you can go run to the court and seek eviction, right? Now, in terms of, and again, same thing. This is all about monetary defaults, right? It's not, if you have non-monetary defaults, I'm not saying look for them, but I'm saying is be smart about it. Look at your leases, right? So in the commercial context, there's all these requirements that are non-monetary that we talked about, the gym, right? And there's non-monetary in residential leases where, again, focus on those and use the eviction proceedings in good faith, but in a way that you can get around the law, right? In terms of the diversion program, again, you're under no obligation to enter into an agreement other than the agreement we just talked about, right? Where you have to, the tenant has to pay in 9 equal payments for stuff before August 31st, and then they have to pay the payments after August 31st of whatever is due going forward. Now, the other thing that they put in here was kind of again, just to make sure that the landlords understand, self-help is never allowed in Pennsylvania, right? It's against the law. They put in self-help. You can't lock someone out, right?
Oh.
You can't just take it upon yourself to just say, you know what, they're not paying me. Screw them. I'm shutting off the utilities. I'm locking the doors, whatever. So what they did is they put something in there saying that you can get punitive damages and attorney's fees if a landlord tries to dispossess you of a property. Again, I would always, I always advise my clients that even if some leases, because some of these people will get these leases on the internet, I can change the locks on them, whatever. Even the commercial lease context, I'm like, don't do it, because you're opening yourself up to liability. For a business, say you lock the doors on ABC company that's on Walnut Street because they're not paying rent, right? So, okay, maybe they owe you rent, but now you just choked their business, right? You killed their business. You got lost profits, things like that.
Yeah.
You don't want to open yourself up to liability. Yeah. So I definitely try to be, I always tell my clients to be smart about it. So, I mean, that's basically the program in a nutshell. So the thing is, if people owe you money, you're going to have to enter into a payment plan, for monies owed through August 31st. Starting September 1st, they have to make those payments. You can't charge them penalties and interest. You can't, there's only, again, it's focused on financial hardship. They would have to show that. And by the way, they have to give a certificate of hardship too, both sides. So they have to, whether it's a residential tenant or a commercial tenant, they have to give a certification of hardship. So we talked about what's deemed a hardship. And then they have to show documentary proof of that too, right? So this is a certification. And again, if they submit that certification with the court system, it's subject to penalties of perjury too, right? So if someone's saying, I lost my job, and we talked about this, the first one of our initial Zooms or discussions, online discussions, if someone's saying that they lost their job, okay, I'm willing to work with you. Show me proof of that. Show me proof that you've lost your job, right? That you've and in the previous discussion, we talked about proof of that they applied for unemployment, right?
Yeah, but so Alan, I have a question. You're getting unemployment and you're getting $600 extra. You're actually making more money now than you were making when you were working. How could you say you have hardship?
And there you go. Here, that's a great argument. You should go join my law firm. I
probably would be a good attorney.
You're tougher than me.
I was going to go to law school.
Yeah.
And then I decided, I don't know, 3 more years. Took me a while to get through the first 4. So I said, I'm just going to go into sales and make money.
Exactly. Like one of those movies. Let's do a switch. You take my life, I take your life. Let's do it for a month. Let's see who if we want to go back.
Oh, I don't think I would last more than like a day. Unless I was in court litigating.
Yeah, the reason why I smile is because otherwise I would cry. So, but no.
I know a lot of attorneys who are now real estate people. They didn't like it.
Well, it's funny.
You like it. I mean,
no, exactly.
You're one of the very few people. I only know a handful of people that actually like being an attorney, and I know a lot of attorneys.
Exactly. No, I like being an attorney, and it's funny because people are like, "Oh, you're a real estate attorney. Are you a developer?" I'm like, "No, I like what I do. I like being a singles hitter. I don't need to hit home runs all the time because sometimes you hit singles, sometimes you hit home runs, sometimes you strike out." And I rather just
that's all part of business, right? I mean, like in order to get yeses, you have to get nos. It's no other way to do it. I actually am having the woman, Andrea, on the program next week in a couple weeks. Go for no. Why you just go for no and then instead of go for yes. So okay, I got to get 20 no's today. Do you know how many calls I need to make to get 20 no's? It would be quicker to me to get 20 yeses than 20 no's. It's really interesting, actually.
Yes, I had a friend who you could equate it to business or women, right? He would ask enough women, he'd get a yes.
Did he get married?
No, he's not married, but that's his. But anyway, going back.
That's a whole other different story.
That's right. Talking about hardship, you make an excellent point, and I did gloss over that. They got to prove the hardship, right? They have to show the hardship. Just because they claim, they have a loss of job, right? Or less hours, right? But they're making more money. To me, that's not a hardship. Then you're right. Now that government program is about to end for the $600 extra a month. So
they just extended the unemployment 13 weeks.
How many weeks?
13.
Oh wow. Okay,
I see signs. Wait, I see signs all over saying "Help wanted" because nobody wants to work. I see them all over the city. I don't know if you've seen them. I ride my bike around, so I'm more mobile and all about. And you don't see stuff when you drive. You see it when you walk. But I've been cover a lot of miles on the bike. And help wanted signs all over.
Well, but see, and again, I represent a lot of restaurant clients too, and the issue with like PPP and the unemployment is that with the unemployment, their workers, you're right, are making more money not working than working, right? So as a human being, like we're all self-interested for the most part, right? Or we try to be reasonable, but like, go into someone's shoes and say, okay, I can work my ass off and I can make, I don't know, let's say 75%. I, compared to like if I just take on employment, right? Now there's self-respect and there's pride and things like that, and loyalty, but
Integrity.
integrity. That's right. So you look at that.
So I would
But
work
then
anyway. I would work
Yeah.
anyway. We worked through from March 20th until May 20th. My staff and I all worked every day, 13, 14-hour days, even though we couldn't even sell real estate, barely could sell, barely did deals. We did deals though. We did actually deals, and we closed stuff we had in the funnel. So what was I going to do? Stop? No, we planned for the future, because that's integrity. That's self-respect and self-worth.
Well, and not only that, in our industry,
I got a business to run.
Well, not even that. In our industries, like at least I've gained a greater market share because one of the reasons, obviously, why you asked me was not just because we're friends, we do business together, and I know the law, but like you've seen my COVID-19 posts, right? For a period of time, we did a COVID-19 post every single day because there was so much going on in terms of like this type of stuff or small businesses. Like there was so much going on. And we had two paths to go down. Put your head in the sand and go, woe is me, and this is horrible. Because I have a land development practice. I do a lot of zoning work, right? So
Yeah.
I could have said, oh God, this is horrible. Blame.
Let's take off.
Or you know what? Figure it out. Like and keep people informed, stay relevant, and figure a way to make money.
Take
and
action.
By the way,
take massive action.
exactly. Yeah.
You have a choice.
So, that's right. So with us, right? So we pre-COVID, we had one of the largest like zoning practices. Like I file more zoning appeals personally than any other attorney in Philadelphia, right? Like if you look it up, it's like crazy. And we usually carry like 20 to 30 zoning appeals at any 3-month period. Since COVID-19, we filed more than that. In terms of that, we have like almost 70 pending zoning appeals, right?
Wow.
So I talk to clients.
That's great, Alan. I'm happy for you. I'm really happy that your business is doing well. You put a lot of effort into it, and you're consistent, and you're there. And like, I know if I call you for something, like, or we have a meeting, or we have a phone call, or like, you respond. Like, consistency is super important, right? Like, I can call you and ask you a question. You can call me. I pick up the phone, or I text back, and I'll call you back in like in 20 minutes, whatever. Like that nowadays is more critical than probably anything.
That's right. That's right. So you have to be good at what you do, but part of being good at what you do is customer service. I always tell people I treat clients like how I want to be treated when I'm a customer. I'm a customer. I'm buying a car. I'm buying a house. Like I'm buying groceries. I'm buying clothes. Like I just want to be treated with a certain type of respect. I want to be left alone when I want to be left alone, but I want to be helped when I want to be helped. And I just want someone who's competent. And in our industries, what happens, when we're dealing with more consumers, they don't really see, like they don't handle a real estate transaction every day like we do, right? Like our developer clients, investor clients are, right? So they need us even more, right? In the sense of, someone's buying a house. It's the biggest transaction of their lifetime, right?
It is.
They don't know, and they don't, what?
It is. I just did a video about it this morning.
And they don't know what they don't know. It's a very stressful situation. And they need someone who they know if they call, they're going to care and they're not going to give them attitude. And then most importantly, obviously, it's going to give them competence, right? But like, I think the competence, like, God, if you do something long enough and you're not competent, then go find another career. So I think the caring portion of it, to be able to be there, consistency, right? I tell my kids that, like, I went to law school with a lot of people. They were really smart. They would take tests, and not that I didn't do well myself, but they would take tests. They do really well. But in between those tests, they wouldn't study. They would mess around. But life, when you're working, is showing up every day. That's like a big part of life, and being consistent, and not having too high and too low, like doing good every single day is really important. So, but getting back to your thing about the hardship, like, that's right. You would fight that. You would say there is no hardship. There are some businesses that are doing really well. Like, hypothetically, if I had a landlord's client who was renting the GoPuff right now, right? And GoPuff says, "Hey, I don't want to pay rent. I'm being affected by COVID-19."
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are, in a good way.
That's right.
That's right. So that's what I'm saying. There's some businesses that are doing exceedingly well because they were able to figure it out and they were able to grab a greater portion of the market share. You know who also is doing well? Target, right? The Walmarts of the world, the ones where the mom and pops can't get their people. I'm in Fairmont, right? Fairmont Hardware. We always service local and support local industries, right? You can't get into Fairmont Hardware. You could do drive-by, but for some people, that's a pain in the ass, right? Go to Target. I'm.
But they do a good job over there at Fairmont Hardware. I mean, Andy runs a tight ship.
That's right, and he's not a client. I'm just saying, because I know Chip has a relationship.
Yeah, he's friends of ours. So.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they make it harder, right? But Target, I can go inside, right?
Because they're a small store, but they'll bring everything right out to you.
No, I know that, but what I'm saying is that
it's not for browsing.
Yeah, but the Lowe's, right? Lowe's and Home Depot, you can go in, right?
Yeah, the big boxes.
Yeah, the big boxes. So Target's doing well, Lowe's, Home Depot, GoPuff. So not everyone has a hardship right now. So, again, we're talking about some big, 100, more than 100 employees. But there are some businesses that are doing well. Some of the takeout places are doing better. Again, another neighborhood place in my neighborhood, a Mexican place. My God, the line is out the door.
La
Fleas.
Yeah. They have good food.
They do have good food. And by the way, they do not drive-by, but curbside drinks.
Oh.
So, yeah, they do. And all the restaurants in my neighborhood do. And they did it before Governor Wolf. I'm not saying they did it, but I'm just saying we don't want anyone to hear this. But
people did it. Somebody did it.
Someone did it, right? So some businesses are doing really well, right? So
yeah, some, but most are struggling. I mean,
no, most are struggling. But you really have to say, show me the goods, right? Without being insulting, but because the landlord has to pay a mortgage, probably, right? So
100%.
So I think it's fair for the landlord to say, okay, well, if you're making a certification of hardship, show me it, please, and then we'll figure it out. And again, there's always other deals to be made, in addition to this. Where people want to do the right thing, right? This is the base level. You have to follow the law, right? You have to give people the option of doing this, but especially in the commercial lease context, it's a small world. People remember each other, right? So if you're going to follow the law here, then the landlord's going to remember that when this ends and you want to break on something, you're like, sorry, the lease says this, right? So it's a small community. People know, everyone knows everyone. And if you're a small, commercial operator of a tenant and, you're taking advantage of something, sometimes with karma, it doesn't work out well later on.
Yeah. So. And you have to pay the rent anyway. So
you do.
I paid my rent. We were closed for all that time. Right now there's 3 people here because we can't have people. So we've been doing every settlement virtually. Yesterday was the first day we had a settlement here with just the title clerk and the buyers, nobody else. And because they had to sign the mortgage documents, everything else, we represent a lot of sellers. So everything else has been deed packet. So we've had people come in to sign the deed packet and then everything's virtually done. So there's some things, that's efficient. That's efficiencies.
That's right.
I have more time to do these things, to do videos, to do this turns into a podcast. So because I'm not going anywhere, I make my lunch every morning. I bring it to the office. I sit in the office and eat it. 5 minutes, I eat my salad or whatever. But there's no more going out to lunch. How much time I don't want to say waste, but kind of waste going out to lunch, going to this networking thing, going to that thing. I would be running all over town. This thing, that thing. And now there's nothing to go to. So I just did see a Zoom happy hour that Crew was hosting. And I was like, Crew, commercial real estate women. I was like, I don't know if I want to do a Zoom networking event. I'm good with regular Zooms, or we do them every morning and every evening with the staff, and with my listing appointments we do Zoom. But I don't know about networking on Zoom. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, where we are in our careers, like
I don't really have time.
Yeah, and we know people too, so it's actually you know what? It's an excuse to reach out to the people we do know, right? Our current client. So the way at least I get business, I'm sure you get business. Most of my business comes from my pre-existing clients, right? They have more business or word of mouth, right? The best advertisement is not me sending out something on like, FaceTime as an ad, or I don't do TV commercials. I don't do billboards. That's not my practice area. It's like my type of work. But the way I get business is all word of mouth, right? So, but it gives us an opportunity in these times to do one-on-ones. I've done a lot of where people connected with me, and they wanted to talk to me, who I didn't know, and we did Zoom sessions, like individual Zoom sessions. So
I've done so many. I sit at this desk all day, most days, nonstop. In fact, some days I'm like, I tell the people 5 minutes. I need 5 minutes.
I know. Well, we're too. I mean, between the work that we're doing, and like I said, I'm busier than I was pre-COVID for various reasons. And then, but we're actually, we haven't really done this type of marketing for years, just because we haven't had to. But I was like, well, I was scared, honestly. Bad things were going to happen. Let me go market myself. And it's not that, if you know something, if you have something to say, it's not hard, right?
No, it's like I said this earlier today, how you do anything is how you do everything.
That's right. That's right. Well, I always tell my kids this. I'm like, you never know when someone's watching, right? So you always have to be on your best behavior and do your best, right? Like Matthew loves basketball, right? He was doing these things before, he was a freshman at that point, and he was doing these scrimmages, for his basketball team. He wasn't on the basketball team yet, but they were like, any kids who are interested, right? The varsity coach was there, but but maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't paying attention. But I was like, Matthew, if this guy's looking at you for 10 seconds, like, what 10 seconds is he going to see, right? Is he going to see you moping down the court? Is he going to see you diving for a ball? Think about that. You can play a whole game and have an awesome game, but if you have 10 seconds where you're not doing the right thing, that's how he's going to label you. And so that's life too, right? You just never know. Everyone has good days and bad days, right? So, but you try to really focus, on trying to do the best you can every day.
Yeah. And quickly, this is what separates the people that, I don't know, I want to say more successful, because success is determined by the individual person, but who do a lot more, say, deals, transactions, and it's the time that we allow between being told no and feeling sorry for ourselves, right? And I just don't care. Meaning, okay, not a problem. You don't think that we're a good fit. I don't know that we're a good fit either. Sometimes it's okay. You don't always mesh with everybody. You know this. You talk to people and we're like, what the heck happened? I'm like, Alan, forget about that.
Exactly. Well, so not everyone's a good fit, right? So
no, because we're different, but also, sometimes it's an opportunity cost.
That's right. Exactly. So I'm too old to just take any client nowadays, right? I want a client that does the right thing or is willing to grow and learn. like, because we all should grow and learn, right? So I'm not perfect, but like, and most importantly, when the S hits the fan, to not overreact to the situation, right?
Right.
Like, I always tell clients, listen, we'll get through it, right? But we got to figure out how to. And you know, when everything's easy and everything's good, everyone's great. It's when, oh my God, this is going on, especially in the legal world and, you know, real estate world too. There's hiccups. It's fine. Let's figure it out. We'll figure it out. But do it with integrity and honor, and, you know, and treating people how you want to be treated. So,
Yeah, I think in real estate, there's always going to be some kind of hiccup because we have to deal with so many other people, but we can't control what they're doing or when they're going to deliver what we need. You know,
that's right.
we rely on title, mortgage, insurance. If somebody else is dropping the ball, I always tell people, look, there's going to probably be something that happens in the transaction that's going to be annoying. Like letting people know up front that there might be hurdles, but we'll get through it. And you have an elite team of professionals here that are veterans in the business. Well, you know, we've been in the business a long time. Oh, Dara and Joan and myself and Lisa and Nicole, Kim. Well, Nicole's new, but everybody else has been in business a long time. So it's, we know how to navigate the muddy waters, right? You know how to get through and be the solution, because that's really what it's about. People say, well, how did you come up with be the solution? I said, because that's what we are for the clients. We are the solution. We bring them solutions to their challenges. We've gotten a lot of people lately because we are advertising on TV, and we received a lot of calls from sellers who didn't sell with other agents. And it's so interesting because I meet with them and I talk with them and they're like, this is like a completely different experience than the last two that I had. And I just sold several of their houses that one's moving to Orange County. Another one, they're up in Rydell. They're moving further out. And they both were on the market for over a year and a half with two other agents, and it didn't sell. It's like there's only two people. There's a whole bunch of them calling right now because they didn't have virtual tours. They didn't have like things that are required in today's day and age. I mean, we've been doing that since last August, for almost a year. So
that's right. So people who are prepared to do things more virtually, like you, like COVID-19, yes, was not great, but like, you know, you were able to at least show some houses, maybe where other realtors did not have that technology.
Right, because we had the 3-day tour, so that's why we're able to. Plus, we focused on just during that time, since we couldn't be showing, we couldn't go out, and because we have to follow the law, we worked on getting listings. So we just had this in June. We had our biggest listing month, I think, of several years in volume and in units. I can't even tell you how many we just got because one was like a huge package. So I'll tell you. So it's good. I mean, now I said, it's like, that's great, but we got to make sure we get all that stuff sold, right? So every day focusing on moving everybody through the process, because it's a system, through the system from the time that they call and then to the time that they close and then beyond. And that's the relationship. And just like, you know, you and I, we have a relationship. It's so all these people in the market that we have relationships with that we've worked with for many years. So
right.
I'm happy to be doing what we're doing. And I'm happy that you were able to join me today on Be the Solution and how you're being the solution for your clients. I love all the work that you're doing and all the good things. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
There you go.
In real life.
I'll drive by 21st and South and say
hi. Okay, so you can come in if you put the mask on. But we put it. You should come by because I have this big neon sign now that's on the wood wall that says "Be the Solution." It's so cool.
I definitely will.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Alan. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great holiday.
You too. All right, take care. All right,
bye-bye.